Okay, perfect. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's really nice to get to see all of you. I've been reading through all of your bios in the Connect channel, and it's great to learn a little bit more about you and where you're coming from. My name is Davina. I'm the founder here at M.D.s Empowered and the person that's been emailing you a whole bunch, and you've probably seen me a lot on Slack too. But it's really nice to meet all of you. We're very excited for orientation. Orientation is actually something we only implemented a couple of years ago, and that's just to familiarize you with what we'll be doing throughout the program and, let you get to know the platforms that we'll be using, especially since I think for a lot of you, you probably won't have used Slack before, but you will definitely have used Zoom. So we just do this session so that you can learn a bit more about, what the program will look like and how it takes place. And then, of course, we want to be able to answer any questions that you have before the program officially starts. But I just wanted to quickly introduce myself, and then I'll pass it off to Rourke, who's our operations director, and he'll be running today's orientation session.
Hello, everyone. Like Davina said, my name is Rourke. I'm super excited to be here today. You'll see me at a lot of the different sessions throughout the program, but this is like the one that I lead every year, and I'm always very excited to be the first face that everyone gets to see and gets to contact as we start off our program, which is super awesome. So for today, just a quick rundown. First of all, what up, my Toronto people? I see a couple in the chat. That's where I'm from. Coming to you from Toronto, so um, very excited. So today we're going to go through what the program looks like, some rules and regulations, just to make sure that everyone is all set up, who to contact for a few different things, and then we're also going to go through the what the website looks like and some information about a research symposium. So, to get started, I don't have the chat open right now. I'm just going to go through this, but we have some lovely team members in chat. So, if you do have a question, I will get to them at the end. Um, if not, if someone else doesn't get to them already. So, let's do it. Okay, so first of all, welcome to Medicine Powered. If this is your first program with us, we're super excited to have you. If this is your second or third, welcome back. This is, I think, my fifth year with the summer program, and I've done four winter camps. This would make my ninth program, which is crazy to think about. I never thought that we would get to nine, but that's awesome. I know this is like Davina's like 12th or 13th. Um, so our mission, our values, we wanted to provide accessible and affordable summer programs and winter camps for students that are interested in STEM, to give them opportunities that they might never have had. Davina founded as Empowered during COVID when a lot of students weren't able to access peers and professionals in the healthcare and STEM space. And we wanted to continue that after COVID for students that were from areas that didn't have easy access to these kinds of materials and professionals. Um, so our goal is to give students access to those resources, to practice debate skills, discussion skills, learn from professionals, and get the best experiences they can while remote. And then the hope is that you guys can then, practice research projects and use diagnostic skills in your own day to day outside of the program after, and you're encouraged, and that we give opportunities to you know all the different groups that might not have access to them. So first off, who makes Medicine Powered work? Um, Davina and Ahmad for sure. They are the backbone behind our team here. Davina, who you just met and have seen online, is the founder and CEO. Um, she's doing her master's in neuroscience, and so if you have any questions about neuroscience, she loves talking about it. So you're always happy to reach out to her about that. If you have questions for her, you can always reach out to her about general questions about the program, or if you have questions about neuroscience in general, things like that. So you can reach out to her. And then Ahmad is our executive director. He does a ton of work to get all the speaker resources done, reach out to speakers, confirm speakers, and makes that side of the program work. So like Davina, if you have questions about the general overview of the program, how reaching out to speakers work, or public health, he's finishing up his degree in public health. He loves talking about that as well. Next up, you have myself, operations director. So hi, I'm Roy. So I deal with all of the operations part of the program. So that means homework, certificate eligibility, polls if they come up, any kind of technical difficulties, missing a session, stuff like that. I am your guy. Reach out to me on Slack. I check my Slack all the time throughout the program. I'm normally quite quick. A policy that we have here is that just please don't spam us. If you don't hear back within 30 minutes, we're probably just busy doing something else, but we'll get back to you normally within 24 hours, if not faster, every single time. And then Jonathan is our chief education officer. He runs programs normally not during the actual summer program, but initiatives like the BSMD mentorship program, trying to help find different ways for students to get involved in STEM and medicine throughout their university time. So there's mentorship programs like the BSMD one that he runs. Now, we also have a lot more people to our team this year, which is amazing. They're fantastic. I didn't make a slide for every single individual, but here's a bunch of the pictures of them, and I'll just introduce the ones that are here today. Ayan is in chat, and he is one of our directors, and he is extremely helpful when you have any issues. Um, with anything really. He is just super, super hands-on and helpful. And then Tamina is also here. She's one of our executive interns, and she's going to be talking more about the research symposium. There's also the rest of our wonderful team: Muna, Prina, Terry, Zuai, Talia, Ashita, and Camila and Amy. They'll be out throughout the program, and you'll meet them. I know that's a lot of names, but as you get to meet them, they'll introduce themselves, and we're really excited to get to know you all. Cool. So, what does the program look like? I hope most of you kind of know what you're getting yourself into, but in case you don't, so this summer our program is 8 sessions featuring a guest speaker from either some STEM field or in medicine, and a networking virtual shadowing opportunity, and then also a lecture workshop style engaging activity taught by either an undergrad, a graduate student, medical student, um, or someone who's recently graduated, and they'll be talking about something in the STEM and medicine field as well. So this looks like, and then we also have some career prep, CV, and research workshops, as well as an optional debate. So this happens over 2.5 weeks. It's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, from 9 to 11:30 Eastern time. If you are having trouble with changing from whatever time zone you're in to Eastern time, message on Slack in the general questions, and someone, if not myself or Ayan, will probably help you figure out the timing just to make sure that you know what time it is in your local time. So, what does the guest speaker shadowing look like? These are some of our guest speakers. They're all fantastic. We've had some fantastic guest speakers in the past, and we have a great lineup this year as well. So the first hour and a half will be about a 45 minute, 50-minute presentation from the guest speaker themselves. This will be varying from speaker to speaker, but generally they talk about their journey in medicine or healthcare or STEM, um, what advice they would give to students now, stuff that they took from their journey that they find is important, and then they also sometimes do some case studies or questions and stuff like that about their field. Um, so that may look like looking at scans and like talking about some of the um, more prominent health issues they deal with. So if that's Austin, for example, who's in the middle here, he's an orthopedic surgeon, so he might show some scans and be like, okay, this is this kind of break, and then show some talk about the different types of breaks, or and then show you guys some scans, and you guys can like try and guess which type of break it is. And then after that, there'll be 45 minutes of Q&A where you guys get asked the speaker questions. It's great if you can come prepared with some questions. If you don't, make sure you write down as they're speaking if you come up with any. It's also not mandatory to ask questions. You can just kind of listen to what other people want to ask. Um, this is a great opportunity for you guys to be able to ask them direct questions about anything in their medical or STEM journey, but also questions you might have about their careers and what their journey looked like to get there. So lots of opportunities. And then who are the speakers? We have some M.D.s, some Ph.D.s, some physician's assistants, scientists. It's a very exciting lineup this year, which is on the website. And then what does the workshops look like? So the second hour of the program will be a 45, 50-minute workshop. Um, this is kind of lecture style or workshop style. And this will be about a different type of interest in STEM. So one of them, the one I lead every year, is the emergency first aid and CPRC workshop. We've updated this year to be even better than last year. But then we also have some different ones that flow through the program. We're always changing based on feedback to make sure that it's the best and most interesting for you guys. Um, and so after that, there'll be a 10 to 15 minute Q&A um, with with the person or with the person running the program or a interactive of sorts. So there'll be something like after the emergency first aid one, we'll run through some mock scenarios of how to assess patients, what how we'll like go through the differential diagnosis, treatment options, what the next steps are, that kind of stuff. So, um, like I mentioned, I always run the CPRC emergency first aid one. But there's also going to be some workshops that we're working on, like anatomy and physiology. Davina, of course, will be running a neuroscience workshop, um, cold emailing workshop, how to get involved in extracurriculars, standardized test prep, stuff like that. Basically everything you might need in the as you approach going from high school to university or university onward in a STEM or pre-health track. So, what does navigating our platforms to the program look like? This we have two main platforms. I hope most of you have checked out the Slack already. Some of you may have also checked out the website already. And then we also have Zoom. So I guess three main platforms. Zoom, I hope you're all familiar with. It's pretty simple. You're all here, so you made it. Fantastic. Um, Slack is going to be where we send messages and you guys can communicate with each other. It's we found it's a really great platform for allowing people to communicate with each other and have areas for, us as the staff to like make sure that we're all set up and then also give you guys a community where you guys have set areas where you can like, okay, we can all connect on social media and LinkedIn on this one, but we can also chat just publicly on this one, and we can ask questions here, and stuff doesn't get lost as easily. So Slack will be where all that happens. If you haven't downloaded Slack, this is a quick little guide to do it. You can download on your laptop or tablet or phone, whatever preference you have. I know for me, I use it on my laptop mostly, but that's mainly because I'm answering lots of questions. The phone version works really well as well. I have it. Um, it's really easy. Just go to Slack, download, and then um set up your account from the and you can join via the email that Davina sent out. So this is what Slack should look like for you guys. This isn't all the channels you'll have access to on the right, but some of the ones that hopefully you guys have already seen are the introductions one. This is Connect 2026 right now. This is where I've seen some lovely introductions, getting to know all of our participants. There's a LinkedIn one where you can share your LinkedIn profile. There's a questions channel. It's not pictured here on the right in the example, but this is where you can ask any questions that aren't associated to you directly. So if you have a question that is like to do with a joining Zoom, put it in the questions chat. Don't DM me myself because lots of other people might have that question. If you have a question for me that's like has personal information or anything like that, like by all means, please direct message me and just ask me privately. But for any questions that other people might have, just post them here, and either myself, Ayan, Davina, or one of our other team members, or maybe one of your participants or your co-participants will have the answer already for you and can answer it, which would be awesome. And then obviously we'll have our announcements channel. You guys should have hopefully seen that I posted there today about I guess an hour and a bit ago now. Just reminding everyone about the orientation setting orientation call and giving the link and all that. So don't post here This is just for us to post for you guys, so you guys have easy access to all the announcements that you'll need. So I'm going to stop sharing briefly, and share my screen again to share Slack on my computer. Just show you guys what it looks like for me. So share Slack. There you go. So everyone should hopefully see my Slack. So this is me just looking at the connect, and you see Ion responding to a lot of people that have just posted. So yeah, so you can see stuff here. Your direct messages will be below. This is channels on the left. Um, and you can go through, you can see the questions 2026. People have just started asking questions. So this is like super helpful. And as you can see, Davina has answered to these first two already. So if you have other questions, you can post them in here. So yeah, this is super easy to use. Channels on the left, DMs below it. If you're using it on your phone, they'll just be above and below. But yeah, so if anyone has any questions about getting set up on Slack, feel free to message us, and we'll get them sorted for you guys. Okay, cool. Let's go back. Okay, 1 second. Sorry, technical difficulties. Okay, we are back. Um, okay, so the next thing is the program website. So this is where you'll find everything. We have revamped the website this year, so it has everything you could possibly need on it. It looks fantastic. I want to shout out their team members that worked on it so hard, um, because it looks amazing. It has everything you guys can need for the program. If you guys don't feel like being on Slack individually, and you're like, oh, like Slack is confusing, which it isn't, but if you're like, oh, I don't like it, I don't want to use it, you can still find everything you need here, that you could possibly need for the program. So this will have all the Zoom links, the information for each of the speakers, the Google Drive with the post session slides, onboarding information, information about the team itself, a feedback form, everything you could possibly need, is on Slack. So, or is on this website. So, um, if you need anything on the website, definitely check it out. If you haven't explored it already, it's super great. It's not very complicated at all. So everything you need. I'm going to quickly stop sharing one more time and just pull up the website for everyone. Um, oh, actually, I can do it right here. You can just close this and pull open the website, which I have open. Um, so hopefully you guys should see the website right now. Let's go. Um, So you can see here, this is the orientation setup. So if you were at this page, and you clicked on the join the orientation link, it would take you exactly where we are right now. This is what the page for the program looks like. And you can see everything you possibly need is here: mission and purpose, onboarding, informations for how to join Slack, all set up super nicely. Information about the channels, program rules and guidelines, which we'll go over today, but in case you want to check them, preparing for the program, information about the symposium, and then also the program schedule. So you can see already here, orientation is July 3rd. That's right now. July 6th, which will be Monday, will be our first program. Our guest speakers, information about them, everything's super beautiful right here, and the Zoom link. So if you need anything with regards to links, stuff like that, check the website. It's all there. Okay, now um, some more information about the actual nitty-gritty part of the certificate and rules and stuff. So, to earn your certificate, you will have to complete the following: attend at least 6 of 8 sessions live and attend orientation and fill out the quiz. Um, so there'll be a quiz at the very end of orientation. It is not a test quiz. It is a please fill out the information truthfully quiz. But I will post it at the end and you guys will see it. And then completion of the homework assignments of the program. So you'll see as each session goes on, some of them, not all of them, will have homework, but there'll be homework related to the session itself. And then completion of the post-program reflection assignment. These are not things that are made to, test you like they might in school and be like, oh, like we're trying to trick you up. This is stuff that we are trying to make sure that you guys have the opportunity to learn and reflect on the program itself. When it comes to 6 of 8 sessions live, we know that life happens sometimes. This is not us saying, please only choose your sixth favorite. This is us saying, please come to all 8. And if something happens, you have technical difficulties in one session, or something really important with a family member, or you're sick, something that it is okay to miss a session. We don't want it to be a whole big deal. Um, we just want you guys to know that this is what we expect of you all. And if you miss one session, you can always watch the recording for that. We believe that all 8 sessions are good for your own education and learning and growing. We just want to make sure that, when life happens, that you guys, everyone still has the opportunity to get a certificate. How to be a stand-up participant. So we know this Zoom format can be a little bit harder to be a stand-up participant and engage with the program. And the answer to that is the more you put in, the more you will take out. So that means ask thoughtful questions, show interest in the topics, asking questions, and be engaged with the material. That can be reading up ahead of time of, let's say, the neuroscience workshop is coming on Wednesday. Let me read up on some neuroscience and, make sure that if I'm going to ask some questions, I want to ask some questions that like I actually have about something I'm reading. And maybe Davina already answers the question I have, but then I've already like prepped it ahead of time and engaged with the material. Challenge yourself and participate. We know participating online can seem daunting with a big group, but that's when you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, that's how you grow. And then also, we're hopeful that everyone will keep their cameras on. We're asking that you guys keep them on. We're not going to penalize someone for having a camera issue and not being able to have it on. But the expectation is that cameras will be on. It's how you engage with everyone. I can tell you right now, the guest speakers, having been someone who runs these programs, it is so much nicer to when you're joining is see everyone's face that wants to talk to you and like wants to engage with your material than seeing a crowd of just blank names. Um, so do that, stay engaged, and then research topics that interest you. We're not saying that you have to be the most engaged person with every single topic. Let's say the emergency medicine CPR workshop isn't that interesting to you. Come learn about it, be engaged. But if you decide that's not the most interesting topic to you, be really engaged with the neuroscience one or be really engaged with the anatomy one, and research topics that interest you. We're not here to, build the next science super soldiers that are, the masters of everything. We're here to help you guys grow as students, as leaders, and learn what interests you and build those passions. And like we said, bring it, and this all encompasses bring your enthusiasm, let us see the real you. We want to see your excitement, and that's what makes you. So we're hopeful that many of you will do all this, and I know many of you don't need a reminder to do all this. But for anyone who's being hesitant and is like, oh, it's an online workshop, I'm not really gonna engage much, take that leap, challenge yourself and go outside your comfort zone, and it'll make the difference, I promise. Um, some program etiquette. Like we said, this is a Zoom program, so um, some things just important. Please join Zoom with your name that you want to appear in your certificate. This just makes everyone's life easier at the end when I'm going to make all the certificates and you want your middle name on there, and I didn't know that because your Zoom didn't have your middle name. Then we have to go back and forth, and you have to message me, I have to fix it, etc. So the more people, ideally everyone, just join with the name you want on your certificate. Um, that would be super, super helpful. And then it's really easy to fix. If you want to do it ahead of time, you can join a Zoom call yourself and just edit your name and it'll show up the next time. And if you're worried, like it's not the end of the world if like today it's not fixed and then tomorrow you fix it for the rest of the program, just now is your warning. Please try and fix it at a time. When joining Zoom, please mute your mic. This is just for everyone. It is not, I don't want to hear you talk. It's, we have almost 300 people in the call right now. If everyone unmuted their mic, there would be background noise. We just want to be able to hear everyone who's supposed to be speaking. Um, if you have questions for your guest speakers, like we said, there'll be dedicated time to ask questions. So if you do have questions, just hold them to the end. But if you, once that time comes, just raise your hand on Zoom. They'll call on you or we'll call on you depending on the speaker and how comfortable they are with Zoom. And just try not to interrupt them. We know sometimes with delays and stuff, you might cut them off like half a sentence. But overall, it'll just be like, oh, sorry, and you'll figure it out. But just be calm, raise your hand on Zoom. There's a function for it, and we'll get everything. Like we said, cameras on. It would be awesome if everyone's cameras on. I know some people probably will have camera issues, but the expectation is that cameras will be on. And then yeah, post post messages in the appropriate channels. Please, you guys got this. I believe in you. Um, and we will feature some of the participants that are super engaging, and interesting, and putting their true self out there and participating throughout the program. So we may ask you to share your program setup for a feature on Instagram. So if you're interested in that, we'll reach out and we'll talk to you guys as the program goes on. Some quick actual really important rules. We have a zero tolerance policy for bullying or harassment. This goes for other participants in the program. This goes for towards our program leaders, whether that's Davina, like who runs the whole operation, or our interns. It does not matter. Zero tolerance. This also includes the guest speakers as well. And we will remove people from the program. This is not oh, like how bad is it? This is we have no tolerance for it. By completing the program, you're also testifying that everything that you do is your own, that you're attending the sessions fully. That means like not sharing attendance forms or homework answers or things like that. Um, and then, like I said, don't spam us with questions. We will like between all of us, we're on Slack like all the time. The best way to get a question answered is just post in the question chat. That way, all I think 14 of our staff can see it, and someone will probably answer it immediately. Versus if you DM me, I'm the only one who sees your question, and like maybe I'm busy for a 4 hour period. But like we will get to your question like within a day, most likely if it's DM'd, and like within a few hours probably if it's in the questions channel at the worst case scenario. Um, and this goes for the Zoom chats as well. I know things um can be like messaging quickly here and there on Zoom sometimes, but I promise we're trying to get to every single question that could possibly be needed. And if you do see your question is going unanswered and it's important, just message us on Slack after. Like just because it it didn't happen on Zoom, we will get to it. I promise. Cool. Our program starts next Monday, which is super, super exciting. I know today is like kind of the start, but the real start of the fun part um is on Monday, and we're really excited. So if there's any questions, please post them in questions 2026, and we'll get to them before Monday. Absolutely. You can find, like I said, our um all of the Zoom links and stuff you need on the website, and of course we'll post it on Slack, kind of like how I did today with a little hour ahead warning of like we're joining here. Here's the link in case you want an easy link to it. And everything will be ready for that. Some quick FAQs I just want to go through. Shadowing hours, if you attend all 8 sessions, you get 8 hours. If you miss a session, you get 7 hours. That's just how it is because it's live attendance. Like I said, if you miss a session, you definitely can still get a certificate for this program. It is 6 of 8. Um, so if you need a miss, that's okay. If something happens and you need to miss more, just message me. We'll work something out. Like we're not trying to penalize anyone. It is just so that we want to make sure that the certificate holds its weight, that everyone who gets their certificate has attended those hours and make it fair for everyone. But if you have a problem with something, message me. We'll figure it out. And then, like I've said, we do expect cameras to be on. Um, you guys are the top applicants that we've chosen um, and accepted to the program this year, and you guys have a high level of skill. You're given an amazing opportunity to connect with these doctors and incredible peers. And when you turn your camera on, you're showing how much more you want to be involved with them, and it's a sign of respect. So this is what we're expecting. So with that, that's kind of all the rules and everything we want to go through. I'm gonna hand it off to Tamina to talk a little bit about our research symposium that'll be happening after the program this summer.
All right. Do we need a minute break or should I go ahead and get started?
I think it's okay for you to go ahead and get started. And then if we have questions at the end of the program, everyone can ask all of their questions at the end or post them in the Slack chat. And after Tamina's little research symposium informational session, we'll share the orientation quiz. Don't worry if you miss it. If you have to leave at 10 o'clock, we'll share it in Slack. It'll be on the website, and we may even send out an email. Just in general for the program, we always make sure that you receive anything that you need in multiple different formats, so Slack, our website, etc. So you really will never miss anything. But yeah, you can go ahead, Tamina.
Okay, great. Sounds good. All right. Well, my name's Tamina. I'm an MSP executive intern, and I'm helping run the research symposium this year. I participated last year, so I'm really excited to be behind the scenes this time. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Sorry, I was muted. So can everybody see my cover slide, or you can just give a thumbs up? Okay, cool. All right, so welcome to the overview for the research symposium. All right, so if y'all could go ahead, I'm going to give you 1 minute to do this while I just give a little bit of an intro on how this is going to go. So go ahead and search hashtag or # research dash symposium 2026 in the Slack channel and go ahead and join it. If you're interested at all in joining the research symposium, I highly encourage you to join as someone who has participated, but that's just me. So as we go along, hold your questions for like just a couple of minutes, like give me some time to introduce the research symposium. But if you think of questions as I'm going along, feel free to post them in the chat. I am going to try to have time at the end for Q&A, but if you're thinking of things as you go along, feel free to jot them down, post them in the chat, and someone from MSP should respond to your question. And then also just feel free to have like a document open on the side or paper and pencil if you want to take notes. This is recorded, but sometimes it's just helpful to take notes. And so, yeah, so for this Slack channel, we're going to post our announcements, updates, general advice, and the resources for the symposium here. So I will post a link to the prompt and these slides after this in that channel. And you're also welcome to ask general questions about the research symposium in this channel. If you have like very specific questions to your project, I would recommend DMing me. But if you have like a general question that you think everyone would benefit from hearing, just feel free to post it in the channel. And then we will also post on Slack to help you find team members if you're interested in working collaboratively. You are more than welcome to work on the research symposium individually, but I highly encourage you to join a team. Just full disclaimer, I was part of a team last year. It was just my friend and I, but it was very helpful to just be able to bounce ideas with someone. We will also allow collaborations outside of MSP, but it will just require a couple extra steps for extra approval. You will just need to contact us to let us know that you're considering collaborating with someone outside of the MSP program, and there will be an external participant fee. Davina can confirm, I think, what that will be, but I will post all that information I will update it in the slides when I post it in the Slack channel. All right. Okay, so hopefully you've taken a minute to join the Slack channel, and I'm going to go ahead and open the research prompt document. And again, I will also post this in the channel. I can post it in the Zoom chat right now, actually, so just so you can view it as I'm going along if you'd like. All right, so it's a lengthy document, but don't be intimidated. After this orientation, please, please take some time to sit down and read through the document. I'm not going to verbatim read the introduction, but I'm going to just go through each section and just give a quick overview. So once you've read the document and taken some time to acquaint yourself with it, and it's just a lot to scroll through, if you're like, I already remember what the prompt is, but I just want a refresher on the rubric, you can just jump to the rubric using the bullet points I have in the beginning, and then you can always scroll back up to the top. Okay, so for the introduction. So despite many advancements in medicine and technology, we continue to face a plethora of global health challenges and threats around the world. So one of those challenges is climate change, which has been an ongoing issue for quite some time. Today and still, the risk factors and contributors for climate change include things like deforestation, increased fossil fuel use, and excessive landfill waste. And then, of course, there are some more recent factors that continue to exacerbate those issues. For example, we have a growing need to accommodate a large volume of data and data processing in the world, which also contributes actually to the amount of power we need to process that data. And that also contributes to climate change a little bit. More than a quarter of deaths from chronic respiratory disease, heart attack, lung cancer, strokes are actually attributed to the same emissions responsible for global warming. Antibiotic resistance is an issue. So if you've ever been on antibiotics, your physician or healthcare provider might be like, hey, I'm going to give you this medication to take for 10 days. Make sure you take it for all 10 days. And the reason they do that is because when you're on antibiotics, trying to combat some bacterial issue that you're having, after a few days, you might start to feel a lot better. And you might think, oh, I don't need this medication anymore. But that's really dangerous because what can happen is when you get a little too comfortable and you stop giving resistance to that bacteria, it can start multiplying again and come back even worse without something to combat it. And then you have this issue of antibiotic resistance. So if you were to restart the antibiotics, it might not be as effective. So if you're ever on antibiotics, make sure you take the full course and you don't skip a day and you don't end it early. There's a rise in vaccine preventable diseases like measles. There's various reasons for this, but some of them include vaccine hesitancy and just disruptions in access to routine and preventative healthcare. Cardiovascular diseases are some of the leading causes of death worldwide, and neurological diseases are among some of the leading causes of some of the most devastating neurological issues we have, like Alzheimer's, for example. There's no cure for some of these diseases, but there's so much research and effort dedicated to combating them because they're so serious. But the point I want to converge on is a lot of global health issues can be risk factors or occur concurrently with other issues. So, for example, climate change catalyzes the spread of infectious diseases like malaria and amplifies malnutrition. And you might think, what does climate change have to do with malaria or malnutrition? And I want you to just sit for a moment and kind of reflect on that. Like, what is climate change? Climate change is just another word for, or another term for global warming, right? And think about how you feel when you go outside on a really hot day. You might feel a bit more dehydrated than usual. You might feel uncomfortable. You might feel a bit more vulnerable. Certain bacteria and germs thrive better in extreme conditions, like extreme heat. And with your body's increased vulnerability, you might be more susceptible to things like the spread of infectious diseases. Your body might also expend a lot more energy to handle the stressor of like just an intense amount of heat. And to do that, it might require to use up more resources and nutrients, which, depending on the community or the zip code you live in or community health issues that you're facing, that could exacerbate things like malnutrition, right? So sometimes health issues compound each other in a way that you don't expect, and you kind of have to sit down and reflect on those things sometimes. Um, War and armed conflicts exacerbate all preventable health issues and existing global health concerns. Munitions, so things like military grade weapons, can contain toxic chemicals that increase air pollution, which is a cause of climate change, which can exacerbate climate change. War disrupts access to things like food and clean water. And some additional pressing global health challenges are cancer, diabetes, obesity, malnutrition, infectious diseases, maternal health, mental health, disability, economic disparities, and inadequate access to healthcare. So that's kind of an overview on the introduction, but I encourage you to read it on your own time too. So for the prompt, we're asking y'all to select a current major global health threat in medicine or STEM and develop a realistic and applicable solution. So your solution can focus on improving the prevention, diagnosis, treatment, or care stage of any chosen global health challenge. You do not have to necessarily pick something in the introduction. This is just to kind of give you a pretty encompassing overview, hopefully, of like really, really major global health issues, but you're welcome to pick something outside of this too. It's just kind of to help give you some inspiration. Um, You'll have the opportunity to synthesize and incorporate current research, so get creative with it. Some examples, which I will go through in a bit, but just some examples to give you some ideas, are designing an innovative method for early cancer detection. So like AI image analysis, for example, developing like a smart inhaler, so a novel medical device to treat respiratory conditions and check on air quality monitoring, designing a research study to combat antibacterial resistance, designing an app maybe, such as to combat obesity and promote healthier lifestyles. So things like that. All right, I will come back to that document, but we're gonna just progress through the slides. All right, so some important dates. Again, this will be posted in the chat, so if you can't like remember all the dates right now, don't worry. But just a reminder that our summer program dates are Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. So we won't be doing any research symposium related workshops or office hours during those times. So as you can see, I've highlighted some dates in yellow just to make it visually easier to see. But from July 12th through August 7th, we will have MSP and mentor office hours. We're still confirming some of the details on that, but this will be an opportunity for you to reach out to us or our mentors to get some guidance on your project. We're intentionally releasing this very early this year and providing these resources for you so you have as much support as you possibly can get during the research symposium. Sometimes it's a little overwhelming to just come up with your own individual project, and we're giving you a lot of freedom, which hopefully is really great, but that means you probably will take some time to really brainstorm things, and that's okay. We want to support you during that process as much as we can. So individual or team registrations, as I said, you can join as a team or individually, will be due July 23rd, and submissions will be due on August 12th. And then we'll also have a couple of workshops during this time, but again, just confirming some details, we will post about it. And then at the end, we're going to have the optional symposium event. This is not mandatory for you to attend, but we will feature the top few projects to present at this event, and we'll announce the details on that very soon as well. So, okay, so just to recap, if you couldn't remember all those dates, the most important thing for you to know is that the registration is due Thursday, July 23rd, and submissions are due Wednesday, August 12th. In the past, if you've participated with us in the past, we've granted extensions in our case study competitions and our research symposium. We are not going to do that this year. We're giving you over a month's advance notice. And I checked the math in the past when we gave an extension last year, for instance, like folks had about a month with the extension, and we're giving you a little bit more than that. So just keep that in mind. We will not extend the due date. And then this is the registration form, just to give you an idea. If you're registering as one person, so just like yourself, you just need to put your email, your first and last name, select individually, select whether or not you're interested in the symposium event. This will not affect your grading on your submission in any way, we're just curious. And then you can just fill out your name and your email address under team member 1. If you're applying individually, you don't need to fill out the rest of these. If you're applying as a team, you can have up to, I think, 10 team members total in one group. So if you only have 5 team members, that's fine. You can fill out up to 5. You don't need to fill out the rest. But just, if you could please just follow this formatting. So just write your name, dash, and your email address. And you must do this for every team member. Like I said, only one person needs to submit this form, but all the information on all the team members needs to be included in the form. Okay, and then additionally, if you could please include the current education level of all team members and the age of all your team members. This information will not be shared outside of MSP, just helpful for demographic information and potentially how we might choose to grade things this year. If you don't feel comfortable sharing, like if one person doesn't feel comfortable sharing their age or something, this question is not mandatory, but it's just helpful for us if you'd like to submit it. And then you can also include any questions you have in your registration form as well. All right. So your presentation could include any of the following. And again, I will show examples of this. Sorry, I'm just trying to hide my icons. Okay, there you go. So all submissions should be well researched with cited references and include a written component. So some examples of what's acceptable is a presentation. If you submit a presentation, please just submit a document or a video explaining it. A video would be awesome. You could do a pre-recorded video that's about 10 minutes, and you can include a brief abstract with it. A formal research paper is also great. And visuals and graphics are very helpful in any form of submission that you choose to submit this in. Make sure I just didn't miss any points. Okay, yes. So to submit your final projects this year, we do this every year, but just a reminder, if you've participated with us in the past, you're going to email info@medstempowered.org with your submission title, your full names, and the email addresses of all your team members. And then also attach your project files to the email as well. This information is all in that Google document as well. It's just in the slides as well for readability. If you could use this naming convention when you're naming your project files. So let's say I'm on a team and I'm submitting a video. I would name my file team_Monstera. My team's name is Monstera _MSP Symposium 2026 dot whatever the file type is. So that would be really helpful. And then for individual submissions, if you're not part of a team, if you could just do your last name _ your first name _ MSP Symposium 2026, that would be really great. And then just a reminder, if you're submitting as part of a team, please make sure all of your team members' names are included and spelled correctly within your project file. So this is an example of what I submitted last year with mine and my teammate's name. Okay. Okay. All right. So something to think about is you might be wondering, okay, like how do I even get started? How do I start brainstorming ideas? And I want to provide you some guiding questions. So with getting started for this, do some self-reflection and consider, what are you naturally curious about? what are the life experiences that you've had that have shaped your passions or questions that you are genuinely curious about and genuinely interest you? And then start looking at gaps, maybe in the current literature or the questions that haven't been asked yet. So, what does that mean? So, let's say maybe you're interested in investigating treatments for Parkinson's. Right now, there is no full cure for Parkinson's, which is a type of dementia disease. Um, there are medications used to manage the symptoms of Parkinson's, but we don't have a cure. And maybe you're looking at the types of medications that are approved for use in the United States, and you're like, no medication manages these particular symptoms of this disease. And I want to develop a drug that manages those types of symptoms and potentially could fill in the gaps for managing Parkinson's, right? So that's what I mean by identifying gaps and asking the questions that haven't been asked yet. Do you ever like read something in your textbook, like when you're studying for class, or maybe you read a scientific paper and you're like, did the researchers consider this? Or, are we going to learn about this topic in this class? So asking the questions that haven't been asked. And then once you kind of identify those things, go ahead and start gathering some information. And I'll go over a bit how to do that as well. But what you want to do is start getting into your research phase. And a great way to do that is to consult primary resources, which I'll go over in a little bit. And then once you've gathered your information, your literature review, for instance, you want to define your goals and objectives. So that means, what are your goals in addressing your questions? Like, how do you want to go about addressing these questions? How do you want to design a research study, like designing a study, an experiment, a prototype for managing something? Maybe you want to design a smart inhaler for detecting air quality. How do you want to go about doing that? What are the steps it takes? What is the purpose of your research? Okay, so some general components of a research submission, excuse me. If you're not familiar with this structure or have some trouble understanding this, please feel free to reach out to me or our mentors once we provide that information. But I just want to give an overview of this because it gives you somewhere to start. So the general components of a research submission include things like an abstract. And an abstract is just a one paragraph summary of all these bullets below. So you'll have like one or two sentences on the introduction, your hypothesis, which is your prediction, your methodology, which is how you test your ideas, your results, and your discussion. It's very short. It's like giving the reader kind of like just a quick insight into what they're about to get into. Okay, and for your introduction, think of this as kind of like an elevator pitch. Like, who cares? Why does it matter? Why should I care when I'm reading your research? Like, what do you want to tell me? Why are you passionate about this? What are the fundamental concepts to understand? So if you're, let's say designing a new drug to manage Parkinson's, like I was talking about, you want to make sure the reader knows what Parkinson's is. You might want to talk about the current drugs that are currently used to manage Parkinson's and the challenges in managing Parkinson's and what it's like to live with it, right? So brief introduction. A hypothesis, you can think of this as another term for prediction. So what is the effect of the independent variable on the dependent variable? And what is the predicted relationship between those two things? So for example, it's like really basic question, but like, for example, what is the effect of 60 minutes of exercise per week on someone's long-term blood pressure? So the exercise would be the independent variable, blood pressure would be the dependent variable. Methods means, how will you test your ideas? How will you measure your results? You can also talk about what the cost of that will be. And then results are, what are your anticipated findings? Your results should directly be a reflection of your methodology. So if you're, talking about different groups of or different types of drugs and how they're used to manage a particular disease and the outcomes. Maybe you're looking at like, the average lifespan for living with a certain disease after the age of 65 with drugs A, B, C, and D. And you're conducting this type of research, and you have that in your methodology. In your results, I should see results that reflect that methodology. If your results have something like the diet of all these people that were taking these different drugs, if that's not mentioned in your methodology, it should be. Results should always be connected to your methods. Yeah. In this case, because you likely won't be conducting an experiment in the next month, I'm assuming, it's okay to talk about like what your anticipated findings would be. That's totally fine. You can also use some tables and figures throughout your presentation or your paper. So some examples of this, which you will see, don't worry, can include predicted data results, maybe some helpful graphics to understand your research topic. So maybe you're doing research on multiple sclerosis and you want to give a graphic on what a myelinated neuron looks like versus an unmyelinated neuron. So it's helpful for the reader to understand what your research is about. You can include interesting data or statistics that informs your research. So last year I submitted a project on maternal health, and I think I included some graphs and statistics on maternal health outcomes in the US for the past 20 years. So things like that, things are helpful to understand your research. A discussion section should include an analysis and interpretation of your results. It could also include limitations and your conclusion. Sometimes people put conclusion and discussion separately, but there's kind of some overlap between the two. And then your references. So the material and literature that you used to gather evidence for the basis of your research. Okay. And so just real quick in the document, I know that was a lot of information. I do have resources on this. So the things I just talked about, this article gives a great breakdown on some of the things I just mentioned. It's just in different words. And then some guidance on just how to start an independent research project. I have a couple of articles on those that I think are really helpful. And I really like this one because it opens up with the way to start, an independent research project is to identify the knowledge gap. Ask the questions that haven't been asked. I think that's a great way to think about independent research. Okay. And then, okay. So, some examples from previous years. So hopefully you guys have all taken the time to join the Research Symposium 2026 channel. Make sure you're in the right channel. But I just want to share that you can look at some examples from previous years, which I'm going to also go through right now. So for example, you can search hashtag research-symposium-25. And you can just click and scroll through the channel to find some examples from previous symposiums. Please, it should be archived, but please don't post messages in channels from last year, but you're welcome to click and scroll through any of our old research symposium channels. So I'm going to just reshare my screen. I don't know if I can. Davina, could I have some help in just sharing the documents in
Ok,
the
tengo que pensar un momento. La toma. Amanda.
What do you need help with? Sorry?
Could I just have some help in sharing the Research Symposium 2025 channel?
Oh, sure.
Or
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull that up.
Yeah, I just can't share my
One
screen.
sec. I think it's here. I'm not sure if we archived it already, but I'll take a look.
Yeah, it's okay if you have. I can still search it. I just can't share my screen for some reason.
Oh, okay. No worries. Yeah, I'll actually just open up the one from 2024 because I can
Okay.
see the sample submissions a little bit better. And actually, why don't I just share
Okay.
one project? And we'll share these sample submissions with all of you too, so don't worry. Yeah, okay, perfect. I will do that briefly. Okay. So for those of you that are doing this research symposium, it's really your first time doing research ever. Please don't worry. For a lot of people doing this research symposium, it is their first time doing research. We will be here to help you. And yeah, so we'll be hosting other informational sessions as well. So please don't worry if you're hearing about everything that we're talking about and you're like, I've never done this before, so I don't know how it would go. That's totally okay. But I'm actually going to share with you our top submission from 2024. So this was done in the style of a publication, so a scientific publication, and it wasn't actually submitted to any journals, but it was done in that style. And this style is often very beneficial if you're trying to make sure that all of your information is organized neatly, and it is kind of beneficial to do it in this format over a slideshow just because you can be a lot more descriptive with it, although we allow you to do any medium of your choosing. So I'll just briefly show you this top submission from 2024. So this specific group was looking at reducing the threat of this resistant strain with this specific type of attack complex. You don't need to do anything along these lines. Your project can be not related to antibiotic resistance at all. It could have to do with climate change or something else, but they have a little abstract here. For this year's abstracts, they'll need to be a little bit more detailed just because that's how we're judging you when we select the top abstracts for our live presentation. But they have an introduction here. So they talk about, how antibiotics are beneficial because they kill bacteria, but then also it kind of selects for resistance, which is not good. And then they talk a little bit about resistance and what that means. They talk about the consequences to resistance and the health defects that causes. And then they have some diagrams here, which is perfect. You always want to assume that even though your judges will have a background in science, they don't know your specific science. So being as descriptive as possible is helpful, and including diagrams where you can. We always prioritize submissions that have a good balance of text and images. So they talk about these different things. I think they also created some of their own figures too. And if you need help with that, we can help you out as well. But yeah, so we have this submission that talks about all of these different therapeutics, and then they suggest their own treatment based on what's available in the literature, and then they tell us what they think would happen. Remember, you don't have to go to a lab and actually do all this research yourself. You read the literature, and based off of that, you suggest what you think would happen. And so this is why it's a proposed treatment or a proposed solution, because you go, okay, I've read this literature, and this is what I think would happen based off of what we've seen in the past. And so this is what I think the solution would look like. And then, of course, you always have to consider testing and trials. So would this be very easy to implement? If it is, for example, a biological treatment for cancer, that requires a lot of approval. You have to go through, if you're in the US, you have to go through the Food and Drug Administration, etc. And you also have to think about costs. So would insurance cover it? You have to think about the ethics, risks, etc. So this was just a very good solution because it considered all of those different aspects. It was easy to read, it was well researched, and it was also well cited. So this is just one of our examples, and we're going to share the rest of those with all of you as well. And you're welcome to just look through the chat now. If you just browse through Research Symposium 2024, you can actually see that submission already. I just pulled it from there. So you can take a look and let us know if you have any questions, but we're going to host some other informational sessions as well. But yeah, I'll pass it back to Tamina.
Thank you so much. That was perfect and very helpful. And I really liked that research paper example. Like I said, you don't have to perfectly follow the format of like abstract, hypothesis, methods, etc. But you can see how that paper followed that format and then like, tailored it to their research and their research interests, if that makes sense. So yeah, we just have a couple of slides left here. Okay. And then just make sure. Okay, cool. So some advice and tips before I summarize those. I just want to go back to the document really quick. Okay. So I'm going to use my own. There we go. Okay. So I know this is a lot of information, so please feel free to rewatch this recording. And again, I strongly, strongly encourage you to sit down and take some time to read this prompt for yourself. So we kind of went over some, ways of thinking about how to formulate research ideas, and then, just like the general structure of just any research document or submission. So some other requirements to think about is that, again, I might not read all of this verbatim, so please take some time to sit down and read it, but I will just try to give you an overview. So your solution should be well thought out and have a sense of real life applicability. It is okay to pull from ideas from past research. The way to kind of think of questions that haven't been asked yet is to look at what has been asked. So inherently, you will need to gather some current evidence and some current research that's out there, so that's totally fine. The important thing is that you're coming up with something novel and original with your idea. And then you want to present, again, so like I said, present on a topic that is new and not already developed. You have to justify it by explaining how it will work. Think about how you're going to test and execute your project. What experiments will you use? What prototypes will you design? To what standard will you be comparing your solution? So if you're designing a novel gas mask, is it better to compare it to having no gas mask at all, or like a state-of-the-art, well-developed, well-designed gas mask? What kind of data do you want to get out of your testing? It could be quantitative or qualitative. We just have quantitative listed here. If your testing involves animals or human subjects, kind of considering the ethics of what that might be. Address the pros and cons of your solution somewhere in your presentation or in your paper. For instance, this can go in your discussion, for example. You can also make a separate subsection. I think the paper that Davina showed, they had like a separate, like specific section for advantages, disadvantages. You can tailor this in a way that makes sense to your project, but think about, what are the pros and cons of your project design? There's always, always, always something to improve in your research, always. There's always some type of limitation. What biology of the system, if any, does it exploit? Do you foresee any limitations? What are the key aspects that make it work the way that it does? And what are the associated costs of your methodology and solution? So for example, if I'm doing a research study on like the gut microbiome in adults and I'm sending everybody stool testing kits, what are the costs of those kits? If I have 100 participants and each kit costs $10, that's $1,000 in costs, for example. Consider, social and ethical challenges. What are the benefits and drawbacks? Is it financially accessible? Is your project, if it's medical, again, what are the ethics of testing on humans and animals? Not all of these questions, like you don't need to go down the list and answer every single question in order, but these are just kind of some guiding questions, and your research should address a good bulk of them. And then again, you can work with groups or individually. Just message us for approval if you're working with people outside of MSP. References. You must reference as much as possible. I highly encourage you to use in-text citations, and there's a screenshot of what that might look like here. There's different styles of citations, like MLA, Chicago, APA, ACS. Personally, for like scientific type of papers or submissions, personally, I prefer ACS or APA. But you can use whatever you're comfortable with. We're not going to be too picky about that. Like if you're using an MLA citation style for a scientific paper, like that's fine. Do what you're comfortable with. For this research symposium, just make sure that whatever style of citation you pick, that you're consistent with it throughout your paper. I strongly encourage you to cite resources from within the last 10 years or fewer, just to keep up with modern research. It is okay and sometimes even necessary to include older resources too. And if you're not sure about something, you can always check in with us. I'll go a little bit more over that in just a second. But I also want to show you guys the rubric, which will also be shared. It's the same rubric as last year if you've participated previously. But this also will help this should help guide you in just making sure you're kind of checking off what you need to submit in your research. So we will judge you on the development and strategic aspect, your creativity and visuals, your research method, your real-world application, and just the formatting, grammar, composition, and referencing in your paper. Davina, is there anything else you wanted to touch on in the rubric?
No, I don't think so. I think that was everything. And then if we have any changes, we'll notify everyone.
Yes. Okay. And then regarding AI use. So a couple of things. I know like the use of AI is out there and to some degree is like kind of unavoidable. When I use Google now, it's really hard to avoid Google AI results. Totally understand that. That being said, the use of generative AI specifically, in developing your research ideas, so going to ChatGPT and being like, what do you think could be a cure for Parkinson's, for example, is not acceptable in this competition. And it is not acceptable to use generative AI to come up with your essays, to generate a presentation for you, to generate an image for you, unless you're training an agentic model on your own artwork and it's your own work and you're designing it and you know computer science. But for the most part, generative AI is prohibited in this competition. The main purpose of this symposium is to allow you to develop rigorous research skills and create your own solutions. If you're going to go into the field of STEM, it's really important to develop these types of critical thinking skills. That's going to make you a better researcher, a better scientist, a better healthcare provider. So please do not use generative AI in your submissions. That being said, also, there are different types of AI. Not all AI is generative. It's okay to discuss AI as part of your research project solution. I just want to make that distinction very clear. So for example, if you're developing a predictive AI model for detecting breast cancer risk and you want to talk about that in your paper, that's totally fine. Not all AI is the same. And then earlier I was talking about research citations and referencing. So these are some really helpful research databases. I'm based out of the United States, so these are the databases that I'm familiar with to find primary research or primary resources. So primary resources are things like diaries, original journal entries, original artifacts, an original scientific study. A secondary resource is something like a news article that summarizes someone else's research, for instance. So if I'm interested in maternal health outcomes in New York, for example, and I want to find some primary resources on that, I can search that in Google Scholar. I can adjust the time range to look at papers from more recent years, and I can click through these and read some articles. So that's just one example of one research database. Google Scholar is very easy to use. So that's one, but there's others as well. And I encourage you to check these out and go through them. Sometimes articles have a paywall, and you can't read all of the text or something in an article. If that happens, try searching it on a different database or just try Googling it. Sometimes the free version comes up somewhere else. Try logging in with your school or your institutional email into these. A lot of times schools have agreements with these databases so you can freely access things. And if you're still having trouble and there's like a research article you really want to access, please message me and we can help you figure something out as best we can. These are some resources on citations, just some They just give some general information about different citation styles. This one in particular is about MLA. And then I really like using MyBib to you can pick your citation style and then you can input the necessary information and it'll generate a list of citations for you, which is really helpful. And then we will also have some award categories. So we will include categories like research excellence, most innovative solution, visual excellence, speaking awards, and then some categorical awards like mental health and psych, excellence in environmental studies. These are just a couple of examples. We'll formulate the categories based on your submissions. So if there's a lot of research submissions on like public health, we'll also make a public health awards category. It just kind of depends on the nature of the submissions. And then final advice and tips. Start brainstorming early. Don't wait until the week before to start. We're giving you lots of time and we are not going to extend the deadline. Practice using the research databases, double check your grammar and spelling, pick a citation style and stick to it. And please reach out to us, particularly myself, Zawai, Amy, Talia, and the mentors for guidance and most importantly, have fun. And finally, if y'all could, let me just open this again really quickly. We're gonna open it up for questions now, but I just wanna share this Google form in the chat. I will also post it in the Slack channel. But if you could take a moment and just fill out this Google form, this is not the required registration form. I just want to make that very clear. This is not the required registration form. This is just a feedback form. I just want to know a little bit about you and why you're interested in the symposium and any questions that you might have and what your experience with research is. I would really appreciate if you take a couple minutes to fill that out. It just will help prepare us to just see what kind of resources and support people will need this year. So I'd really appreciate that. And then now we can open it up for questions. And thank you so much for taking the time to listen to all of that.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Tamina. So I think what we'll go ahead and do now is you can send out the orientation quiz. So just fill out this really quick quiz that we've made, and then I'll add a spotlight here for you both. Um, so we'll open it also up now for just any questions about the program, questions about the research symposium. If you don't have any questions, you're welcome to leave. I've also posted a message in the Research Symposium channel. So if you have a project you're interested in, you can post a message there. If you see someone else has posted a project idea that you find interesting, you can respond in that thread, and then you guys can coordinate, making your own, group chat or email thread or whatever. But yeah, so we'll open it up to questions now. You can raise your hand on Zoom or you can pop them in the chat. And then if you're raising your hand, just let us know who you want to answer your questions. So just let us know if it's an orientation question, onboarding, or if it's a research symposium question. But yeah, I think Work just said it's been posted on the announcements channel. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we'll open it up for questions now. If you don't have any questions, just fill out the form and we will see you on Monday. Yep, if you're heading out now, thanks so much for attending. We hope the session was helpful for you to learn a little bit more about the program and our research symposium. And if you have any questions in the interim, you can always reach out to us, so myself, Rourke, or Tamina. I think I see a hand raised, so Alexander.
I would just like to ask when the research symposium would be due, because I think it's August 12th is the submission. Or is it
Yes.
another?
It's due August 12th. So on the PowerPoint, it says submission is open between August 8 and 12. Honestly, you could submit earlier than August 8th. That's
Yeah.
fine. I think that's just kind of the timeline. We're just going to remind people to start submitting. But yes, it is due August 12th. And then registration is due July 23rd, just because we want to make sure people don't wait until the last to start their.
All right, thank you.
Okay, awesome. I see Jenica.
I was wondering for the research symposium, do I need to like create like an actual like app or solution, or is it just my idea that I'm putting into the research to my like paper?
Yeah, that's a great question. Just the idea is fine. Um, if on your own you want to actually create something, that's really amazing. But yeah, we just want to see you like formulate the idea and how you would go about developing your solution. Great question.
Thank you.
Okay, and next I have Kelly.
Hi, this is just like a general question for the program. For the volunteering hours, would that be eligible if I live in Canada, or would that just be in the US?
Oh yeah, that's eligible wherever you are. We can either like sign off on hours if you have a school form, or we can write you a letter.
Okay, thank you so much.
No worries. And then next is Adrian.
Hey, a question about the research symposium. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. How do you expect us to find like a teammate to work with, like out of like the 400 people?
Good question. Okay. And I saw a couple of questions about this in the chat. I was trying to scroll through and reply, so I'll just reply out loud. But yes, I would recommend joining the Research Symposium 2026 channel. You can give kind of like an introduction about yourself. Like, hey, I'm so and so, I'm in this grade. I know I'm in 11th grade, or I'm an undergraduate student, and I'm interested in these topics. Um, I would recommend also, if it's helpful, like I said, you can look at previous Research Symposium Slack channels. So the Research Symposium 25 channel, if you go through that, you can see examples of what people have posted in the past. Some people will also post things like, hey, like I'm down to do anything, but I'm really passionate about computer science and I love to code. So if you're looking for a coder to talk through like your design or something, like I would love to be on your team. Or I'm really just broadly interested in neuroscience. Is anyone doing like a neuroscience project? That sort of thing. The range and specificity of how people specify their interests is kind of a wide range. But I would just take the time to introduce yourself and get to know other people in the chat. Go through the chat once you've posted and kind of see what other people have posted and see if like, someone might be your vibe or you like what they're interested in. And then also just a disclaimer, I participated with someone outside of MSP last year. And the reason I did that was because I had a specific research interest. And I collaborated with someone who's my friend and had very similar research interests to me. So I just knew we would be able to like make a really good project together. So if that's helpful, you're welcome to do that. But I also encourage you to get to know other folks. And in the coming days, like today's just the orientation day. I feel like over the next few days, it'll be easier to like get to know people, introduce yourself in the Connect 2026 as well. I feel like that's a good way to connect with people. Does that help answer your question?
Yes, thank you so much. And the information about volunteering is on your guys' main page, right?
Yes, volunteer hours, that's on our program website. I think there's a specific section that talks about like note taking and stuff.
Okay, thank you guys.
Yeah, no worries. Also, I wanted to hop on and say, yes, I know that there are a lot of you this year. So I did post a message in the research channel so you can respond to people in the thread. I think maybe what we'll also do over the next couple of days is create specific channels based off of people's interests. So I see a lot of interest in, I think, neurology, cardiovascular disease, PCOS. And so we could maybe create separate interest channels and then have people join those channels. And then we can also help create groups of like 4 or 5 of each of you in each group. If, say, there's like 20 people that are interested in neurology, we can split you up into 4 or 5 different groups. And so we can help you out that way because I know that there are a lot of people in this program. But yeah, so we're going to do everything we can to help make sure that if you have an interest and you want to work with people, that you get to work on a project you're interested in and that you get to work with other people in the program.
Okay, sick. Thank you guys.
Yeah, no worries. Harshit? Okay. If you don't have a question, I'll go to Ferris.
Hi, good morning, everybody. So just to reiterate, for more extreme topics, and when I say extreme, I say difficult to test. You said that we can utilize models to kind of not fabricate, but kind of make these results, correct?
Yeah, so like describing how you might design a prototype. So I think in the prompt, there's an example about like making a smart inhaler. So maybe you want to like check like for air quality or something. Yes, you can describe like a model for how you would do it. It doesn't have to be like we're not expecting like 30-page papers. So, but like if you want to describe the idea, if I'm understanding your question, that's fine. And
Okay,
also,
thank you so much.
you're welcome.
Mhm.
And if you're like not sure if your idea is like detailed enough or like if it's too much, like you're welcome to message me or the research symposium team members and we can kind of give you some guidance if like you're on the right track. Yeah.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you so
And
much.
one other thing I just want to add is there's a lot of cool programs out there that use R code and stuff like that to model potential outcomes. So if you were trying to conduct something and you could build the parameters
Mhm.
into an R code, they use this a lot in they being researchers in stuff like trying to map out predictions for forest fires. So if you can't conduct research yourself, you could conduct hypothetical potential outcomes,
Mhm.
and then try and like graph or model them using code of what the potential outcomes could be. As long as you preface that like this is based on like these parameters that we've put into the model, that can be considered a really cool way of like potentially, let's say you were trying to get funding for conducting this with real people. This would be kind of a way of like a grant proposal kind of style. So you could do something like that if you have the ability to.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate this.
No problem.
Okay, I only see one more question left. It's from Hannah.
Hi everyone. So I have two questions, like one about the research symposium and then one about like the program itself. So regarding the research symposium, um, so say, like we would have like our idea, and I guess we'd probably like learn more about this through the process, but since we're pretty much like just proposing like our idea or our design for something, how would we be able to find like anticipated results, like if we're not actually like testing it out?
Yeah, so I think I can take this question. So this is something that we get every year that we do the symposium, and it's a valid question because if you're not doing the research, then you're wondering how exactly to model your results. So what I would recommend is looking to see if there are any other similar studies that may not have implemented your exact solution, but something like it, and see what the outcomes are. We don't expect your outcomes to be very specific. So we're not trying to say that, for example, if you're proposing this new therapy for tumor shrinkage, we're not expecting you to propose results that say that this specific new thing that you've created is going to reduce tumor growth by 1 nanometer per day. It doesn't have to be as specific as that, but just in general, do you think it will reduce the tumors? And based off of your knowledge of, for example, the brain, in what regions of the brain do you think tumor shrinkage will be the highest based off of where you are, for example, injecting the treatment or something like that? So more of a hypothetical solution based off of the literature, but you don't have to be specific and say that this is how much the tumor is going to shrink or this is how much the treatment is going to be effective and this percentage of patients are expected to be fully cured or enter remission based off of it. So yeah, was that helpful?
Yeah,
Okay.
and just to add on to that, like you can, sometimes you might not have as much to say in your results, but having like a really robust like methodology explaining like this is what I'm going to collect and this is how I'm going to analyze the results is also like can also be considered sufficient.
hmm Okay, awesome. And then also, in addition to that, like say like for when we're choosing our ideas, do you think we'd be able to like relate our idea to like a passion project that like we're currently doing or something? Like for example, like, so I currently run a science related blog for teens. Like, it's mainly dermatology and like skin centered, and I basically do research about like, current skin concerns that like teens deal with, and like what's the best way to solve them. And like, say like for this research symposium, like, do you think I could like design like a special like skincare product or something? Like, just a thought like I just came up with, but
Yeah, I would say absolutely. In the slides too, I talked about, when formulating independent research, like it sounds like you're on that path already, but just doing reflection on the things that genuinely interest you and the things that you're genuinely passionate about and pursuing those things. Yes, that totally makes sense. Yes. Davina, do you have anything to add to that?
No, yeah, I think it's fine if you want to relate it to something that you're working on currently. That is totally okay. We don't want to, dampen your creativity.
okay, thank you so much. And then now for my question for like the program in general. Um you guys did mention how like, we'll be having all the, the workshops and all the guest speakers and things like that. And so I just wanted to know like what's like the best way to like stay engaged within the program? Like, obviously like ask like questions, but um what are like other ways that you guys would probably suggest?
Yeah, so I can take this question and then Rourke, if you have anything to add, feel free. But first, I would highly recommend reading up on the speakers beforehand. So, for example, in the winter camp, we had one participant who actually like read the book that one of our guest speakers published before the session and then talked to them about it. And our guest speaker was like, really touched that someone had taken the time to actually, read up about their work or figure out what they're doing, maybe even outside of a clinical setting. And so I'd recommend really being thoughtful with your questions. So, if you know what the guest speaker's field is, you can Google them. We have all of the links available for every single one of our guest speakers. Really would highly recommend reading up on them beforehand so you can ask them not just general questions, but really thoughtful questions. And then I would really, really take advantage of the opportunity to contact them after the program is done too. Just if you have any, general questions or even better, if they're in your area and you have questions about, connecting with people in the area or things like that, highly would recommend doing that. But I know that for a lot of you, this program will be the first time that you're actually talking to healthcare providers and networking with them, asking them thoughtful questions, and getting to actually learn about science and medicine. So really what I would just say is make the most of it through that. And then stay engaged with the workshops as well. So some of our workshops will have interactive components, so activities that you can do alongside the lecture. I'd highly recommend doing that, asking those speakers questions as well, and then just showing up to every session with your camera on and things like that. But just, making the most of the program experience because we do all of the hard work of making this program happen, but then part of the responsibility is on each of you to, make the most of the experience. But yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Awesome, thank you so much. So would you be able to post like the guest speaker's contact information in the Slack channel? Like, would you
So
guys?
for our guest speakers, we already have a lot of their links available on the website. And then after the session, what we'll do is we'll ask them um, if they're able to share their email address for program participants to reach out. Or sometimes what they'll also do is they'll accept a list of questions and we'll send them off to our guest speakers and then they'll fill out that document and send it back to us. But whenever guest speakers speak during the program, I would say at least 80% of them are very comfortable sharing their email. And because you would have already established that connection, you can reach out to them and you're not just a stranger. You're someone that spoke to them during this program, so they have a better chance of knowing you, better chance of responding too. What I will just say also is be respectful of the fact that there are 300 of you in this program, so don't spam them, don't send them an insane amount of follow-ups. Just be respectful of the fact that they are offering their time and their guidance. But yeah, we will share their email addresses if they're
Awesome,
comfortable.
thank you so much. Sorry, I know that was more than like two questions, but thank
The
you for
only
answering.
thing I'll add is that most of them will tell you at the end of their time what the best way to get in contact with them is. Some of them prefer email, some of them prefer Instagram or LinkedIn or whatever. And a lot of them will put on their last slide like contact me here. And will post it themselves. So just stay tuned for that. They are like you guys. they're here because they want to engage with you. None of the guest speakers are taking their time to help with this program because they are getting something out of it. Besides just getting to have getting the opportunity to talk to young minds that are interested in their work. So these are all people that want to engage with you just as much as you want to get engaged with them. What they are hoping is that their stories and what they have to share will impact you guys positively, and that some of you will take that to heart beyond the surface level. So I think if you do the things that Davina just said, like taking the time to meaningfully interact with them, and if you send them a follow-up, like send them a follow-up that has passion and real stories, and not just how can you help me get into med school? How can you help me publish a paper? They want to interact with you on a level that is beyond the surface. So my recommendation is show be yourself and show yourself beyond what your actual just goals are on paper.
Mhm. Okay, thank you so much. That was really helpful.
No problem.
Have a good day.
You too. Alexander?
I would just like to ask just two questions just about the research proposal. And my first one would be whether it would be an option to simply work individually, because it seems like, I'm not sure, it seems like we have to work in a certain group, whether it's someone within the program or someone outside. I would like to wonder if it would be a potential option to just work on my own. That's
Yes,
available.
you are welcome to work individually. We just encourage you to work in a group, but that's totally fine. In the past, I have submitted an individual project for the case study competition, which is done in a different program. So that's totally fine. You are welcome to submit individually or group. Either way is fine.
No, so I'd also like to ask about how many citations should be used? Like how many sources in general should be used for the research symposium? Because I know it should probably be more important about the quality of each source, but I would just like to wonder what would be the ideal amount of sources that should be used.
I think there isn't a strong limit, and honestly, it vastly depends on what your topic is. Something like an immunology concept will have like dozens and dozens of sources because you have to cite every single interaction between different types of immunological pathways and cells and how they interact. Whereas something like public health, you might only need 5 to 10 sources, because one source will have so much more of your information. You can cite that same source over and over again. Whereas for immunology, if you need to cite a source for NK cells and then how this specific NK cell interacts with this one, they're all going to be different sources. Um, it really is, there's no strong way. I think as long as the important thing to think about is, are the things that I am saying that are facts that are not my facts cited? If that is done by 5 sources, you are good. If that is done by 45 sources, you are good. It's just the concept, and you'll know based on your topic, and you'll know when you read your sources. If you're reading an immunology paper and it has 150 sources and you're citing it, you're like, oh, I think my paper will probably have a lot of sources. But if you're reading a public health source and there's 3 sources because they collected their own data, you might be like, oh, maybe my paper doesn't need that many sources because so much of the information is going to be coming from the primary sources. So I think it's really just about what topic you choose, and there's no you're not going to get more marks. You're not going to get a higher score on the rubric because you have more sources or less. It's strictly about if you're covering your bases properly.
All right, I see. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, we'll take one more question from Ferris and then we'll wrap up for the day.
Hi, sorry to constantly bombard with questions, but I just have a general question. It's kind of relating back to what he said earlier. Um, Prior to, past competitions, do you guys see more winners among people who work with others? Like, because I'm also thinking of going individual here, and I just want to kind of gauge whether it would be a beneficial move on my part, whether to collaborate with others or work by myself.
Okay, I will take this question only because I've been grading the last couple of, I've been part of the grading team for the past couple symposiums, and this is a good question actually. So I'm going to give you a long-winded answer. We
No, of
do get a
course.
lot of submissions from individuals or people working in a pair. So it's the person and their friend, like Tamina last year. We also do get some good submissions sometimes from people working in groups of 4 to 5 or 4 to 6. What I will say is we do place a maximum on the number of people you can have in your team at 10. We set that maximum in place for your benefit because once you get to 10 people, there's so many ideas going on that it's really not likely to work out. And I think in the past like 4 or 5 years, we've maybe had 1 or 2 groups of 10 submit and place in our top 5 or top 10. Another issue of working in a huge group is that people are likely to drop out of the program, or, not drop out of the program, but just decide that they don't want to do the research symposium anymore. I would recommend working in a group, but working in a smaller group. That's just my personal recommendation. You absolutely don't have to take that because sometimes people do work in a huge group and it works out. I would just recommend sticking smaller. And there are a lot of messages going on right now in the Research Symposium chat or the channel on Slack, and a lot of people posting messages and finding groups. We're going to let that kind of settle over the weekend. And then on Monday, we will reach out again and make sure that if you need a group, you will find one.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much.
My one quick add is if you do choose to go alone, which is totally fine, use the resources you have to get ideas bounced off of. We have mentors and stuff like that. I think the one fault of working alone is then there's no one to critique your ideas positively or negatively. And that's why we recommend small groups at the bare minimum. If you are going to go alone, totally acceptable. The two challenges you have are that and making sure that you are disciplined in your deadlines because there's no one holding you accountable. So if you feel like you really want to work alone, that's okay. Make sure that you're setting your own deadlines and that you're using your resources to bounce ideas off. If you feel like one of those two is going to be a struggle for you, then I would absolutely recommend trying to find someone like-minded to work with because they'll hold you accountable and be that resource for you. But if you're like, I am super self-disciplined and I'm gonna find them, like talk to one of the mentors and like make sure that I bounce all the important ideas off of, I would say that's totally fine to go alone. But I think it's a very like you have to be that kind of person for us to recommend you go alone. But like I said, most of the time, I think a small group, like what Davina said, is probably the best for your success in like finishing a good paper, but also your success in becoming a better researcher. Because you'll have the access to like people that are already doing those things that you might have weaknesses in.
Yeah, and I
Amazing. Thank
think
you guys so much. This is really
also,
helpful.
yeah, you're welcome. I will say I've done both. So in the case study competition that we had a while ago, I submitted alone, and then in the research competition, symposium competition, I submitted as a group. And there's different challenges, as Davina and Roark have reiterated with both. It is doable. I've done both. Just there's different challenges you'll face if you're submitting individually versus group. The other last thing I'll add to Roark's point is if you're submitting individually, start early. And I did have to seek out advice when I was working alone. So I requested like a virtual Zoom meeting with Davina. I reached out to like my friend who's a master's student in psych on feedback on my solution once I came up with it. So yeah, it is doable though, but just plan ahead. Yeah.
Right. I think with that, we'll see everyone who's still here on Monday. We're really excited to see you. You may not see all of our specific faces on Monday, but you'll see some of us. And you will definitely see us all, as the next week and a bit go on. So see ya and